I like Hazbin Hotel quite a lot, and I like the scene being discussed at length in this video. This is about the fandom response and interpretation, how it reflects the broader societal treatment of male sexual assault victims, versus the things I see in the scene, and what those things say about the characters and how they forward the narrative between them. Spoilers for Hazbin Hotel Season 2 ahead. Content warning for discussion of sexual assault and rape. Damn, this is a pretty good hill. Anybody else gonna die on this? No doubt you have heard of Alastor. He practically needs no introduction, especially to most anyone clicking on this video. But I will briefly introduce him in case you clicked on this video and somehow haven't heard of him. You're watching video essays for the love of the game, and I respect that. Alastor, the radio demon, most powerful sinner in hell, absolutely dominates his competition. Master manipulator, cool, suave, sharp smile, unflappable, genetically engineered Tumblr sexy man. And he's got this rivalry with a guy named Vox. They have some history, and Vox resents him for rejecting his proposal for a partnership a long time ago. I wonder how they're doing now. Oh. Alastor is sexually assaulted in Season 2, Episode 4. Vox crosses every boundary short of raping him. And in general, because he didn't overtly rape Alastor, the rest is sort of downplayed by the fandom. In particular, the part that ships Alastor and Vox. Don't get me wrong, I also ship them. That's how I know what's going on at the Devil's Sacrament. So, what happens to Alastor? How did we get here? He lets himself be captured by Vox in service of his larger plan to get out of his soul contract with Rosie. Vox takes Alastor on a public humiliation tour until we get to the bedroom. And this is where the mood aggressively shifts. There's a moment where we only see Vox in bed, naked, talking to someone we can't see off screen, gloating about how good of a day it's been. It was intentionally put into our heads that this other person could be Alastor. The scene that comes directly before this one is the smoothie date. That scene is humorous, but it does create the explicit framing of an artificial, one-sided romance where Alastor is not allowed to participate. And the scene before that, Vox goes on TV to tell everyone Alastor doesn't have a tail and body shames him for it. This puts in our minds that yes, Vox would and is using his new power over Alastor to investigate intimate areas. This one's going in the sexual harassment pile. And even earlier in the episode, it is heavily implied that Vox abandoned Valentino in the middle of sex to respond to Alastor's call to fight.
Foxy, you can't get all up in this and then zip out like that. I thought you liked it when I...
TMI, Val.
And even earlier, in Season 1, Vox says,
This is better than sex!
While watching Alastor get beat up and nearly killed. He specifically gets off to harm being done to and doing harm to Alastor. The camera zooms out, and we learn it's Valentino on the other side of the bed. A brief moment of relief. Then the camera pans again to Alastor, tied to his little rolly chair being made to watch Vox and Val have sex. And this is, unambiguously, sexual assault. Alastor was a non-consenting party to a sexual act. No, Vox didn't rape Alastor, but he wanted Alastor to think about it. He dangles outright sexual violence in front of Alastor, makes him know that he could go that far if he wanted. The fandom has largely written this off as not that bad. They say Alastor put himself in that situation. He knew what he was getting into. He could have looked away when Vox was having sex with Valentino. Alastor doesn't fight back. Alastor instigated Vox. Alastor just doesn't care. The sexual trauma of men is often ignored, downplayed, or outright ridiculed. Men are often seen as only perpetrators, never the victims. Particularly black men. And when they are victims, they are met with ridicule and denial. They are called weak. They are told it was their fault for one reason or another. Terry Crews shared his story during the Me Too movement of being sexually assaulted by a Hollywood agent and how he was afraid to speak up about it when it happened.
In 2016, while at a party with my wife, I was sexually assaulted by a successful Hollywood agent. The assault lasted only minutes, but what he was effectively telling me while he held my genitals in his hand was that he held the power, that he was in control. As I shared my story, I was told over and over that this was not abuse, that this was just a joke, that this was just horseplay.
While many people spoke up in support of him, there were still many people, including famous peers, who mocked him and blamed Crews for what happened to him. In particular, Crews says that one of the loudest groups against him were other black men. This attitude bleeds into our media, right on down to children's media. There is a prison rape joke in the first Puss in Boots movie.
You got any idea what they do to eggs in San Ricardo prison? I'll tell you this, my friend. It ain't over easy.
Over and over and over again, the sexual assault of men is treated deeply unseriously, and it can and does affect real people. Fiction is not reality, but patterns across different works of fiction do reflect the opinions the society that produced them has about reality. And, unfortunately, we live in a reality that treats the rape of men like a joke, real and fictional. I recommend the video essay, The Sexual Assault of Men Played for Laughs, by Pop Culture Detective. It's a 2-part essay, and it is incredibly eye-opening. It goes into the many ways it's treated as comedy, what ideas those depictions reinforce, and is chock full of examples. I implore you to simply watch the first 6 minutes of part 1 before continuing this video. The fandom says that the harm Alastor and Vox inflict on each other is mutual, and that they enjoy it. So, therefore, Alastor must be fine, or at least not terribly bothered, with what happens in episode 4. And most of the time, the harm is mutual, and it is something they enjoy doing to each other.
Shy, Vox!
Alastor! For what do I owe the displeasure?
In their major fights, they're accompanied by funny little signs that drive this home. That's their emotional support abuse because they are fucked in the head. Intimacy and violence are the same to them. Look, Alastor is even doing shibari. Aww. Their relationship is violent, but episode 4 escalates to a new level of violence that was not normal for them, and it does affect Alastor quite deeply. I don't think Alastor goes into serving himself up on a silver platter to Vox thinking he won't be hurt. But the expectation and even invitation of harm does not somehow create a foolproof scenario where suddenly sexual abuse is nullified or made impossible. There is no situation in which one could be asking for it. The fault always, in every situation, lies with the perpetrator. And I think Alastor does underestimate just how far Vox will go in the depths of his twisted obsession with him. Alastor was expecting to ride Space Mountain for the 100th time, but instead he got stuck on a dubiously maintained zipper with the speed set a bit too high at a parking lot carnival with a guy who will not stop making the cart do flips. While Vox is parading Alastor around town, Alastor just kinda sits there. He doesn't pull away, he doesn't flinch, his expression does not change. He's clearly miserable, and he does not like it. Notably, his ears have never gone down like this for this long in any other situation, but he keeps it together for the cameras. After being forced to watch Valentino and Vox have sex, Alastor starts flinching and trying to pull himself away. He is oozing discomfort. For the rest of the scene, Alastor is anticipating the sexual violence continuing. Every action Vox takes, every word he says, is in the wake of explicitly sexually assaulting Alastor. Alastor is incredibly on edge. Let's get back into the scene and investigate. Vox gets up, flashing Alastor right after having sex. Alastor hisses and flinches. Vox takes Valentino's cigarette and blows a cloud in Alastor's face. We see multiple times in the show that the cigarette with the red smoke is an extension of Valentino's power. We can sort of equate it to Alastor's staff in that respect. Valentino's power has much to do with making people do things against their will. Cigarettes and cigars can also sometimes be phallic imagery. And the thing that just happened is Vox literally flashed his dick at Alastor. Vox has just taken the heavy-handed metaphor stick and blown it in Alastor's face. He's rubbing it in. Alastor flinches and pulls away. Of course, because this is a direct continuation of the advances made before, just now veiled under metaphor. Vox says,
"Isn't this nice?"
after assaulting Alastor. Vox puts his clothes back on, but this doesn't mean he's backing off. Vox thinks Alastor should be grateful for what happened. He wants him to be grateful for it. He needs him to be grateful for it. He brings Alastor in close.
Look at all this. I know you feel it too. And to think you could have had this all, and without the public humiliation.
Vox says to Alastor after forcing him to watch him have sex and displaying his nude body to him. You could have had this all, including my body. You feel it too. What you watched? You're lucky you even got that. Don't you want it? I know you secretly like it. And see that? Flinch. Vox starts trying to ply Alastor with drinks. They used to drink together, and used to have some kind of closer relationship, as we find out from the upcoming flashback. Remember this?
But underneath it all, he's a total sweetie. Put on some jazz and pour a couple fingers of rye and he becomes a kitten.
Vox knows Alastor's guard goes down when he drinks. He wants that to happen. He wants intimacy and doesn't want to earn it. He wants shortcuts. Alastor rightfully does not accept. Vox starts asking him questions. Alastor denies him answers. Vox calls him a brat for exerting a boundary. And here, Alastor takes the wheel a little bit. He needles Vox about needing others, but also...
Always seeking someone to put up with your incessant...
Blink and you miss it, but Alastor is attempting to communicate. He's being rude, but he's trying to tell Vox something that bothers him about the way he treats others. The way Alastor feels treated. He's saying Vox treats other people as an accessory to his pride, and Vox tries shutting him up, instantly vindicating him. Vox doesn't want to hear criticism. And it is only after this that Alastor really digs into their sore past to poke bruises. Alastor was sexually assaulted, he's pissed off, he's hurt, and Vox is not listening. Alastor continues communicating his feelings the whole time in his mean and obtuse way. He says that he respected Vox in the past. He says Vox ruined it, and he is mocking Vox for needing others for his power.
You really haven't changed, have you? Still so reliant on all those around you. You and I were as close to equals as I'd imagined down here. You had your decent ideas, you were growing your power, and it was almost impressive. And I respected you. And then you went and ruined it. But you still rely on others for your power, like always.
What does Alastor mean by power? What does he mean Vox needs people? Alastor notably doesn't ever needle anyone else in the same way about having friendships or partnerships. Just Vox. In fact, he actively encourages and facilitates Charlie in gathering people around her. This is a particular problem he has with the way Vox treats people. Perhaps he's talking about Vox's unending pursuit to feel powerful by way of treating people like objects to be had and ladder rungs to his own success. It is the having of people that makes him feel powerful, and he is obsessive about it. He knows this about Vox. He knew Vox for several years before their falling out. He even knew his real name.
I just thought, since we're friends...
Friends? There are no friends in hell, Vincent. I thought that was something you understood.
Because Vincent never had friends. He only had tools. He had possessions. Maybe the no friends in hell thing was something Vincent said offhand at some point even. We don't know why this is the exact phrasing Alastor used just yet. But we know Alastor does not want to be a tool nor a possession. He says he saw Vox as something close to equals.
You and I were as close to equals as I'd imagined down here.
That's what he wanted. He wanted to be equals. He is extremely okay with Vox being at his side, standing with him. But when Vincent proposed a partnership, stood up, positioned himself physically above Alastor, stuck out his hand, and we know handshakes mean things in hell, it became a situation where one of them would be beholden to the other. Vox wanted Alastor to stay forever, and Alastor wanted to be free to stay of his own will. And Vox, of course, is not happy to let Alastor have the last word. He is not happy to be reminded that Alastor rejects him. He doesn't want to hear the reasons for it. And so he moves in physically. And, yet again, we get a shot of Alastor through Vox's legs as the musical number starts, mirroring what came before. The framing of Vox's legs signals to us that this is sexual. Now, a through-the-leg shot is not always indicative of a sexual context, but given that we had basically the same shot earlier in the scene, his feet even going down in the same order, I think Freud has entered the building. Really, he was here since the cigarette and never left. Let's look at some of the lyrics. There's the surface-level meaning, of course, but there's subtext.
You're in my house with my rules and my room with my tools.
In his room with his tools, huh? Now, why would he use that phrasing?
And worse, you're at my mercy. First to watch me take it all.
Take it is an innuendo for butt sex.
You've gone ass up, you're deep fried.
Ass up, huh? Oh, like for sex? For butt sex? Deep fried can mean a couple of things. Fried is most commonly used to refer to being high on drugs. Remember when Vox blew Valentino smoke in Alastor's face? So, he's talking about drugging and raping Alastor. He's threatening him with his room and his tools. He even forces Alastor on his knees after these lines, and we get a reverse shot where Alastor's head is at Vox's hip height, invoking imagery of a blowjob. Fried can also refer to electrocution. Remember that this is being paired with sexual innuendo. It's a surprise tool that will help us later.
I'd laugh at how you look so small.
Dick joke.
You can try to squirm and struggle and it wouldn't do a thing.
Vox is saying outright that he will ignore signals that say Alastor does not consent.
Now I'm the master, and you're my bottomest bitch.
Uh-oh. Remember when I said Vox specifically gets off to harm being done to Alastor? This is the climax of the musical number, and the climax of the scene as a whole. You know who else climaxed? I don't think I'm going out on a limb to say this song was meant to be read as sex. Valentino even says it out loud.
You two should just fuck already.
Viv, my queen of unsubtle writing. So no, I don't think I'm reading too much into it when the bedroom scene begins and ends with the text explicitly inviting us to think of sex. The climax of the scene is Vox forcibly putting his hands on Alastor and hurting him, an action we know sexually gratifies Vox. Remember when he said Alastor is deep-fried, mixed in there with the innuendos? Vox threatened to do this and is now doing it. Vox is forcibly, physically extracting sexual gratification from Alastor by electrocuting him in a situation where Alastor is unable to meaningfully say no or fight him off, and where we have seen multiple times that Alastor does not want to be touched. Wait a minute, that sounds an awful lot like sexual assault is happening again. That's right, we found Sexual Assault 2, Electric Boogaloo. This is surprising and distressing enough to Alastor that it breaks his composure, even if only briefly. The only other moment we have seen his shadow form frown was when he was nearly killed by Adam. I think it is fair to say that Vox's behavior made him genuinely fear for his safety. And yes, the millisecond of frowning we get from Alastor is that deep. I work in an industry that makes licensed merch for various properties. The license gets the final say on whether something goes out and meets their standards for depicting their characters. Some of them have pages and pages of written documentation on exactly how things should be. I can almost certainly guarantee you there is paperwork about Alastor's smile. There is not one singular frame of animation, not even while he's talking, that he frowns. I bet they have meetings about whether or not his teeth are showing at any given time. So, anytime he frowns, even if it's only through his shadow, you can bet your ass Viv herself specifically requested it. And you should pay attention. This also applies to times when his smile is otherwise obfuscated. And this frown? It's actually worse than when Adam almost killed him. In the scene with Adam, we see both Alastor and his shadow on screen at the same time. Alastor remains smiling, and Alastor corrects the shadow almost instantly. But while the electrocution is happening, we as the audience are denied seeing Alastor's face. The shadow frowns and is not corrected. The frown is the only expression we are allowed to associate with him for 10 whole seconds. This rattled him, and it rattled him deeply. This isn't like the times they fought before. Alastor can't participate. He's just part of Vox's power fantasy, and he has no reason to believe Vox will stop here. But it's not technically rape, which is the best kind of not raped. Let's look at some comments from the peanut gallery. And no, I will not be linking to any posts because I don't play that way. Alastor opens his legs to let Vox come closer at the end of their musical number. I'm assuming they're talking about this. And, well, it looks a bit more like Vox is stepping intentionally between his legs to force them apart, and Alastor is unable to back up, so he plants his feet. This is an unfortunately common genre of take I come across when looking into the reasons people have to downplay how serious this situation really is. Oh, the wires aren't that tight. Clearly Alastor can still move around. He can close his eyes to not look at Val and Vox. He opened his legs. He's letting Vox do this. He's not fighting back, etc. These assume Alastor has agency and choice. We don't know how much Alastor is actually being forced to do. He has made a supernatural demonic contract with Vox to be his little prisoner. Alastor puts 2 restrictions on Vox in exchange for this, and neither of them have to do with Alastor's bodily autonomy. The only, and I mean only, thing we know Alastor has control over under his contract with Vox is the things he says. We cannot assume the rest. These 2 are American and have an American understanding of what a prisoner is. And American prisoners do not fucking have bodily autonomy. Plus, freeze and flop are both trauma responses. A lack of overt struggle doesn't always mean harm isn't happening. Next item. This clip comes up a lot. Alastor shrugs off Vox's hands and Vox crosses his arms, keeping them to himself after that. Okay, he does do that. This is used as evidence that he respects Alastor because he took his hands off when indirectly asked, and that all this is mutual. It's 15 seconds before Vox touches Alastor again after this clip. If I push a guy off and he comes back 15 seconds later for round 2, I don't think respect is gonna be the first word on my mind. Why don't we do a quick tally of how many times Vox touches Alastor after the first time Alastor makes his displeasure at being touched known? Next point. Alastor's pupils are large in a number of shots. Clearly he likes this. Wide pupils can also mean anxiety. Okay, next point. Vox would not sexually assault Alastor because he still wants Alastor to want him back. He wants to be wanted. Okay. Ignoring that he did sexually assault Alastor, even if you disagree with me on this, he still very much does this. Ignoring that. Like everyone seems to want to. This assumes Vox has the emotional intelligence to know that's how he's feeling. I agree. What he actually wants, deep down, is a genuine connection with Alastor. That's the basic human condition. He's not special for wanting that kind of thing. Not everyone is willing to admit that to themselves or knows how to actually achieve that. Vox wants to be wanted. Like, a lot. An unhealthy amount. Just like in general. Instead of being normal and making friends, he murders people over it. Instead of earning love, he takes what others have built because he does not know how to build it on his own. Let's assume the best of him. Let's assume Vox thinks him and Alastor are both still having fun. He equates Alastor's verbal needling to his own physical advances. He thinks the game is the same one they've been playing, in spite of the major power imbalance at hand. And Alastor will keep needling him, because it's the only way he can feel some shred of control in this situation where he has none. And Vox will continue to see that as Alastor equally participating in and consenting to what he perceives as their typical mutual violence. Vox is incapable of recognizing Alastor's tells of distress because he is so blinded by his desire for Alastor to want him, that he will assume the want is reciprocal whether or not it is. He doesn't care about reality, only his reality. Vox even literally behaves this way here.
Look at all this. I know you feel it too.
And perhaps that played a role in why Alastor rejected him so harshly in the first place. Maybe he was never any good at knowing when he was overstepping boundaries with Alastor. Maybe the rejection wasn't as sudden as it seemed to Vox. We don't really have Alastor's perspective on that situation yet. We only have Vox's memory of the rejection itself, so it's hard to say. But these are the types of communication breakdowns that are either overcome to create a stronger relationship or make people fucking destroy each other. No matter what Vox thinks is happening, Alastor still is not in a position to meaningfully grant consent to any of it. And Alastor does squirm, he does struggle. And at what point would Vox stop? Maybe it would never escalate to something traditionally recognized as sex or rape, but we already know that intimacy and violence are conflated for them. Alastor getting his ears pulled and being electrocuted isn't sexual assault because the action is an inherently sexual one. It is because of the framing created by the preceding scenes, the power imbalance, and what violence means to them specifically. I think the only reason he did stop when he did is, ironically, because of Valentino. Rape and sexual assault can sometimes involve attraction, but not always. A large factor is the display of dominance. Vox wants to be dominant and powerful. He wants to impose that dominance on Alastor. When Valentino pipes up and effectively goes, "Hey, this shit is fucking gay, Lamau," Vox is being called gay, and suddenly, if he's gay for doing this, he's not powerful anymore and he's less of a man. Which, coincidentally, is a framing used to ridicule male victims of sexual assault. And I feel like the pedantic use of the particular definition of rape by shipping spaces when discussing this scene is used to downplay how damaging this series of events was to their relationship and minimize the severity of Vox's confirmed and plainly displayed actions, instead of actually giving a shit about how sexual assault is depicted. This scene sets Vox up as the guy who will escalate heartbreak to murder-suicide when Alastor finally does make his feelings and disdain for him crystal clear, and will not care how many people he takes with him.
As long as I wipe that smile off Alastor's fucking face, I don't care what happens.
And you know, why is it the smile specifically? What does he hate so much about it? The smile is a barrier to intimacy. The smile might as well be Alastor's skin with how important the role it plays in keeping him safe is. Keeping his inside safe, his inner world. You're Never Fully Dressed Without a Smile is Alastor's theme song. It is his mantra. Amir Talai was sought out to be Alastor's voice because Viv saw a video of him singing that song. It is important. Alastor is literally never fully dressed without his smile. To be seen without it is on the same level of vulnerability and exposure as being seen without clothes. The level of intimacy required to see him drop it voluntarily is perhaps even more than to get his actual clothes off. When Alastor is smiling, he is not letting Vox in. And Vox wants in. And when he wants, he takes. And so he takes Alastor's smile, he parades him around town in what could be considered a state of undress, a sexy little outfit just for Vox. And he shares candid photos of Alastor in a compromised state. This is yet another instance where we're denied seeing Alastor associated with his smile, but we don't explicitly get a frown. He's hiding his face with his hair, his head is hung low, and not easily captured by surrounding cameras. He's not wearing the mask Vox had him in. There is some emotion raw enough on his face that he hides it himself. We do not know if the smile remains. Does it even matter if he's still physically smiling? Does it matter if he's deliberately hiding the thing that he believes gives him power? Easily drawn allegory of saving and sharing nudes against someone's will. He makes Alastor wear the mask, that sexy little outfit through the sex he has with Val, so he can look and fantasize that he has the intimacy he has painted on Alastor's face. But he doesn't stop there. Vox wants the genuine article. So he takes off the frowning mask, allows Alastor to have his clothes back, offers him a drink, plays nice. And when Alastor doesn't accept, doesn't voluntarily offer up connection after Vox so generously let him have some of his dignity back, Vox does what he has always done. He takes by force. He forces himself between Alastor's legs, and he begins to rip Alastor's clothes off while holding him down and fucking him against his will. And he doesn't. He gets inside Alastor. He is stripped down for our eyes to see. What's the definition of rape again? Oh, it can also mean an outrageous violation. Alastor is raped. Subtextually, metaphorically, symbolically, right to the very edge of literal. After the electrocution, in the close-up of Alastor's eye, we see how Alastor is seeing Vox in this moment. Vox does not have a face. He is unfamiliar and unreadable. All four limbs splayed around Alastor. Alastor does not know this man. The events in this episode solidify in Alastor's mind that the person he wanted to stand side by side with, held in almost equal regard with himself, who he would have willingly stayed with, maybe forever, is gone. Completely and forever. No matter how familiar he may seem at times, even if he remembers your favorite drink. And it breaks his heart. It breaks his spirit at points. I fully think this bedroom scene is why Alastor goes so hard into destroying Vox from the inside out this season. It was never strictly necessary in order for Alastor to get what he needed out of their deal. But Vox blew through every boundary, broke any shriveled shred of trust and respect that might have been left for him in Alastor. After this, the only thing Alastor trusted Vox to do was lose his goddamn mind. Their relationship works like a ratchet. Vox cranks the knob, ups the ante, and Alastor keeps it there. But wait! Here comes Zizi with a steel chair!
I heard Vox fucked him with a chair!
Oh? Where'd you hear that, Zizi? I wonder who has control over the media.
Vox, you left it in the subtext, right? Right?
Whether or not Vox would or would not actually rape Alastor, as in the legal definition, as in put a thing in a hole, he's clearly fine letting people think that he did. And it's treated as unimportant of a detail as everything else, on equal footing with the rest of the humiliation ritual. Even in a reality where Alastor is raped, it matters to no one. Damn, no wonder this guy has trust issues. The second half of Season 2, Episode 4 made me feel gross and weird and uncomfortable. And I like that about it. These scenes give us so much to think about. Upon my first watch of it, while the season was still releasing, it made me uncertain about the ways the conflict between Alastor and Vox would unfold. It made me uncertain about whether or not Alastor truly had the upper hand. I personally think the show itself presents this scene seriously, in spite of how the fandom reacts to it. I'm not going to claim it's the best possible depiction of any of this. Hazbin Hotel in general runs into a lot of the same problems that any humor-based media has with depicting sexual assault that make some people rightfully unhappy about the way it's handled, no matter how well-intentioned. It's not special or uniquely terrible when it comes to these things. I don't even know if the downplaying of Alastor's sexual assault when Zizi chimes in was an intentional detail, or if it's just a symptom of the writers being steeped in media that does the same thing, and that society does not encourage us to question. Hazbin Hotel is extremely not immune to the sexual assault of men being played for laughs.
Because I'm having sex with everyone here!
I'm so sorry, sir. You can punish me if you want to.
Ew. No.
Oh, what the fuck?
For my collection. Hey, bad boy.
You again? Ow! Fuck! Ow!
And yes, this is a distinct genre of it. Revenge harassment isn't any better. But once again, Hazbin Hotel is not uniquely special or terrible for this. Watch the pop culture detective essay. Watch it. Beloved movies and shows are in there. But that's the thing about art. Two people can look at the same picture and feel differently about it. What is distasteful to some is relatable and poignant to others. And both perspectives are correct. Meaning can be found outside of the creator's initial intent or lack thereof. But it's like a little insane to me the way all of this is just not taken seriously by most of the fandom. To the point of outright ignoring both subtext and just plain text. Oh, it's not real, it's not that bad, it's a cartoon show in hell, he's seen worse, he's prepared for all this, it doesn't affect him. And thinking Vox would go that far is mischaracterizing him. Just saying anything and everything to try and paint and smooth over the ugly, dark shit that happened right in front of our eyes. And maybe I shouldn't be surprised. I know I shouldn't be surprised. Your sensitivity to this has been beaten out of you relentlessly. This is not a fandom problem, it is a societal one. And oh brother, are we living in a society. The text invites us over and over again to draw sexual parallels to Vox and Alastor's interactions. To ignore it is to lose half the story. Most people have no problem recognizing this part. That's why so many people ship these two. To write off the cuck chair as not that serious, to treat it as just another joke, is to miss the emotional core of the rest of the scene. Many people miss that part. You miss the betrayal, you miss the tragedy. But Alastor is stoic. He smiles. He's a man. He's a black man. He is presented to us as one of the most powerful characters. He's aggressive and mean. He is expected to fight when he is uncomfortable. And when he doesn't, well, clearly he wants it, right? The perfect victim says no clearly and often, fights off her attacker like a honey badger. And if she can't get away, she continues to profess her non-consent throughout the encounter, ideally by shouting no, and continuing to fight as best she can. Perfect victim has the courage of 100 armchair quarterbacks. Perfect victim bites and scratches. Perfect victim spits and sobs. What she doesn't do is give in. What she doesn't do is get wet. What she doesn't do is make her rapist breakfast. And she is never a he. You know, I really do think if Alastor was a woman and literally nothing else was changed about the show or the characters, people would pick up on all this a bit more. I don't know if they're going to revisit Alastor's time with Vox and how it affected him in further seasons of Hazbin Hotel, but I hope they do. He deserves that attention and empathy, just like any victim of sexual assault, even if he doesn't behave how we would expect a victim to behave, and doesn't look how we think one looks. And I think depicting an atypical victim reacting in atypical ways would be such a deep and meaningful storyline to explore. How does Alastor react to deep personal harm like this? Is the relationship between Vox and Alastor salvageable? If it is, how do they even navigate that, being the characters they are, given what happened? Do they let go? Do they hold on? Alastor himself wants you to think he is above being harmed. That's what the smile is about. But he isn't above being harmed. No one is. And if the show doesn't go back there, and we don't explore that, then I don't know. I will be disappointed, but not surprised, because it is the societal default to not think about this stuff. And yeah, it's a cartoon. No one was actually hurt. But the mindset that turns, I heard Vox fucked him with a chair into a throwaway joke that flies under the radar and that makes people bend over backwards to minimize clear sexual assault is not a harmless one. It actively benefits abusers and makes it harder for men to recognize and accept when they may have been hurt, and prevents them from asking for help. The only way to combat this is to actively push back against it. You gotta call this what it is. It's sexual assault, and it matters. And you need to take this seriously. Whenever something like this happens in a show or movie, you need to interrogate why your first reaction might be laughter. The constellations are made up, but the stars are real. Oh yeah. Someone's sexuality doesn't have anything to do with whether or not sexual assault is better or worse for them. Are you insane?